the stuff is gonna come out amazing. But if you put too much time on social media and too much effort on social media, then the strength of what you do is gonna be weaker and weaker and weaker. And of course, you cannot eliminate social media completely. If you know math, you do not divide by 0, like the word explodes or something. But I would rather have 10 over 1 than 1 over 10, right? And to put it in a way that's probably more understandable, I think ideas are like sprouts, and social media is a herd of goats. I used to believe that. And some ideas are like grass, and if a blade of grass gets eaten, it grows back really fast. So it's okay to put that stuff out on social media, and let's hope it goes viral and whatever. But some ideas are like oak trees, and it takes a long time to grow one. And you need to make sure that they are exposed to the goats when they are strong enough not to be destroyed. And you have some ideas, you have to protect them for a little bit before you put them out for criticism by complete strangers. And this brings us to the next one, which is monkeys. So by monkeys, I mean, you're probably familiar with the I have a monkey in my back, on my back kind of saying, which is obsession, which is addiction. And I mean it in that sense, like, what obsesses you? What are you addicted to? What is the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning? What is the last thing you think about when you go to bed at night? And I know that if you told me, you would say something, but that would be not true. That would be what you think I want to hear and what you think will make me think you are a good person. Because we all do. I mean, we all want the cure for cancer. We all want all the wars to stop, or world hunger not to be there. And those things are important. But to be fair, like, I haven't thought about world hunger once today. Did you? So unless it's something that really interests you, it's not gonna make your photos more interesting. If you're thinking of a project and you don't go for the monkeys, it's just gonna be and people are gonna say, yeah, that's nice, because you don't say like that's bad if a project is about like curing cancer. It's like, that's really interesting, well done, and then you will forget about it. It might be something really stupid. It might be that you are obsessed by donuts, and that's fine. Because the thing is, if you are obsessed by donuts, you will be the person knowing everything about donuts. You will know how they're made, you will know how they taste, how many different kind of donuts there are, and your photos about donuts are going to be something that will make other people care about donuts. It happens. Like, you see that in other people's work all the time. And the more personal you make, the more universal it becomes. If you try to be universal, it's just going to be blah. How do you find your monkeys? Well, first of all, you need to be really, really honest with yourself. You can, like, it is allowed to like to others. Again, I'm not your mom, so feel free to lie to people. I'm fine with it. But you cannot lie to yourself. One practical way to do that is you take a little piece, a very big piece of paper, and you start writing down everything that you think is interesting. You know, the stuff that if you see an article about that, you stop and you read it. If you see, like, if you flip into the channel and you see, like, they're making a documentary about the stuff, you go and look at it. And then after a while, you start seeing that some of these things are more important than others, and you just circle that. And that might be your starting point for looking for your monkeys. You also can look back at your work, and you might recognize that you've been shooting the same photos over and over again. For example, for some reason, I'm attracted to water, but even though I'm not a good swimmer, I can elegantly float from point A to point B, kind of. It's just something that comes up in my pictures over and over. Or something even more interesting to me, which is the fact that this is me when I was 5, and this is me on my honeymoon. The whole thing was built around the fact that I wanted to go to Coker City, Kansas to touch the biggest ball of twine in the world, which I did, and was awesome. But during the whole honeymoon thing, I had this project in mind because I've read a book about non-places written by an anthropologist. And non-places are those physical spaces that where people basically do the same thing everybody else does, like parking lots, airports, hotel room. Like you go there, you pay, you do your thing, you go home, and the next one comes, and it's basically the same. And a lot of what I'm interested about is identity, both in people and in places. And so we did this whole series of with the paper bag on the head in hotel rooms. This is maybe one of the first photos I took of myself. It was 2001. It was shot with my first digital camera, which was a Sony Mavic FT88. It's the one with the floppy disks, 1.3 megapixel of awesome. And there was not a real project behind this. Everything was very spontaneous. But the same concept, like having self-portraits with my face covered, like kept coming. Like I looked at my photos, and it kept coming back. And eventually, I shot these like December 2013, I think. And these are shot using one of those very cheap sheets of plastic with a mirror on top of that you use for a children's book if there is a mirror there and you don't want children to cut themselves with actual glass. And I like the way it's really a bad mirror, but I like the way it distorts reality. And when I looked at these, I realized that this whole thing about me and my face comes from when I was 4 years old. And basically when I was asleep, I fell from a bunk bed and I woke up when I smushed my face into the ground. My parents took me to the emergency room and were questioned by the police because, of course, like you see a kid with their face mushed into a pulp and you question the parents. And for a whole month, I wasn't allowed to look at myself. Every mirror in the house was taken away and I was basically not allowed to look at myself. But still, I can remember the face of pity and disgust that people had when they came to see me. And I still can remember that I would try to look at myself on reflective surfaces, like if I was taking a bath and you see like there's the faucet and you try to understand how your face looks and everything is deformed. And eventually my parents decided it was good enough that I could look at myself. I still have nightmares about that, so I think they kind of made a good choice about not letting me look at myself. But what I'm saying is, the whole thing about identity, to me, has always been like a big part of what I do as a photographer. And when I realized the reason why and where it comes from, I started actually incorporating that into my work actively, and that led to much more interesting pictures in relationship to what I was doing before. So now you have your monkeys, which is something you can talk about, like a subject, and you have your people, which is somewhere you can talk to. And this is the most important thing about photography. Photography is a language, again. A message is something you say to someone specifically. The magic starts happening when you talk about something you care to people you care about. But none of it is going to help you unless you write it down. Like, this is so important. Like, I don't know how many times it happened that I have like the most amazing idea and I just forgot about it like 10 minutes later. And it's like, it's so awesome, I will never forget about this. And then of course you do. So I always keep like paper and pen on myself, and I might just write down stuff that I find interesting, and I cannot draw, like I'm really bad at it, but if I have an idea for a photo, I might just do a little sketch that will remind myself what I was thinking. And none of your notes are going to be nice or inspirational or beautiful, and some of them might be really bad. Like, this is an actual note I found in my phone, and most of the notes I leave to myself are just really stupid stuff. But the thing is, if you have to get through a lot of bad ideas to eventually get to a good one. And ideas are not fragile. Like, you need to be willing to be a bit rough with them. You need to test them. You need to try to break them. Take them too far, and then get